Sir, ibig sabihin, hindi nagkataon lang na parang dinala sila doon para sa team building, kundi nakaplano na pahirapan yung mga estudyante.
Nakaplano na ang seawater training nila. Alam nila na pwedeng merong mangyari. Kasi tinanong niya ang mga players sila, sino ditong hindi marunong lumangoy? 5 ang nagsabi na hindi sila marunong. Nung nalaman niya na hindi marunong lumangoy, binigyan niya ng information kung paano mag-handle ng rip currents. So alam niya na hindi lumangoy, alam niya na hindi marunong lumangoy, pero tinuruan niya pa rin paano mag-handle ng rip current. So nakita namin na alam talaga niya. He was of full knowledge that this could possibly happen. Ang mahirap dito, paano mo tuturuan ang hindi marunong lumangoy na mag-handle ng rip current? Blue Eagles men's basketball team. Following a thorough investigation conducted by the Philippine National Police, we are now prepared to present our findings and recommendations based on the evidence gathered. Ang layunin namin ay simple. Alamin ang katotohanan, pananagutin ang dapat managot, at tiyaking mananaig ang batas. We now go with the investigation. These are the recap of facts. On June 8, 2026, 2 players from the Ateneo men's basketball team died during a team building activity in the Pocolao, Aurora. The death was due to drowning during seawater training conducted at around 2:30 p.m. The seawater training was done during high tide when waves pulled the players further offshore. The said activity was organized and supervised by head coach Tab Baldwin. This is the Blue Eagle Band of Brothers or BBOB. Ito ay lagi niyang sinasabi ng mga players na slogan ng kanilang samahan. Hindi lang sila basketball team, kundi Blue Eagle Band of Brothers o BBOB. Sunod. Ito ay sinabi ni Coach Tab Baldwin sa dati niyang interview, and I quote, "It was built around the fact that it's very difficult for young men who are at the height of their playing prowess, all of whom had egos that are fed by loving parents, adoring girlfriends, adoring fans, victories along the way, and these egos needed to be broken down to the whole," unquote. Sinabi niya rin, and I quote, "The best way to do that is to break the man and reduce him to a state where he can't do things on his own and requires the assistance of others in order to accomplish something," unquote. What we seek to do is stretch the limits of these players, take them near their limit, unquote. Ayan po ang pag-iisip at samahan ng BBOB. Sunod. Hazing. Ang Anti-Hazing Act of 2018 ay revised na po yan sa dating batas. Ang dati pong iniisip natin, ang hazing ay initiations lamang. Ngunit dito, ang team building at training ay nag-crossover papunta sa hazing. Hindi po to, ang hazing po, iniulit ko po, ang hazing po ay hindi initiations lamang. Ang dating concept natin ay nagpapadel, ang dating concept natin ay hinihiya, ang dating concept natin ay pinapahirapan. Ayon sa batas na revised ng 2018, hazing refers to any act that results in physical or psychological suffering, harm, or injury inflicted on a recruit, neophyte, applicant, or member. That applies to the basketball team. As a prerequisite for admission or requirement or continuing membership in an organization. Kasama dito ang forced calisthenics at saka exposure to weather or other brutal treatment, forced physical activity which is likely to adversely affect the physical and psychological health of such recruit. Next. Elements of hazing as according to the amended law. Number 1, physical or psychological suffering. Number 2, as a prerequisite for admission or requirement for continuing membership. Number 3, the physical or psychological activities include, but not limited.
As mentioned, the crime of hazing under the new Anti-Hazing Act is expanded and covers not only the traditional way of initiation as we are aware of, but it covers also all other acts that inflict suffering and are done as a prerequisite or a requirement for admission or continuing membership into an organization. So we're also accustomed to fraternities conducting hazing, but under the law, any organization can be held responsible for this crime. We are going one by one for the 3 elements of hazing under the law. For the first element, there should be a physical or psychological suffering. This one is very clear as there is the presence of death of 2 individuals. This is a clear case of physical suffering under the law. The second element provides that there should be a prerequisite or requirement for continuing membership or admission to an organization. The evidence that was acquired and obtained by the CIDG would show that the supposed team building activity that was conducted in Aurora was precisely made to determine which members of the team will make it to the final list submitted by Coach Tab Baldwin to the UAAP board. This is signified by the fact that 20 members or 20 athletes were present during the activity, but that only 17 would eventually be in that final list submitted to the UAAP. Meaning there would be 3 members eliminated, and it appears from the evidence gathered by the CIDG that this activity was made precisely to screen or as a requirement for entrance into that list. The next quote would show, this is among the testimonies secured by the CIDG, is that the team building, according to the witness, assistant coach Louis Alas, was not a basketball-specific activity, but it was intended to determine the condition and mental toughness of the players. So these circumstances point to the fact that this supposed team building is really geared towards identifying which players will be fit for the final roster of UAAP players. Now for the third element, there should be a physical activity among the enumerated under the law. In this case, the CIDG found that the sea water-based activity constitutes hazing because there is an deliberate intent to cause suffering among the players. This is evident in the fact that Tab Baldwin, in his own testimony with the CIDG, admitted that they intentionally chose the dates June 7 to 12 to coincide with the low tide, meaning he is aware of the low tide and high tide information during the said dates. Although the admission is only for the low tide, as you can see from the photo on the left, any information about low tide necessarily includes information on high tide. And for the material date of June 8, the afternoon high tide is listed as 2:27 p.m. As the Secretary has mentioned earlier, this is exactly the time that Coach Baldwin subjected the student athletes into the water-based activity, which caused the death of the 2 Ateneo players. To recap again, the next slide would show the timeline during the day of the death. So it is clear from the itinerary of the players that they were subjected to intense physical activity, starting at 4 a.m. when they were woken up by a siren and were made to run for 4 kilometers. And this was subsequently followed by intense physical games and punishment for losers in these games. The seawater training was conducted at around 2 to 2:30 p.m. and around 2:30 to 2:40 p.m. as strong waves pulled the players offshore. And after the head count, it was found that 2 of these players drowned and died. The next slide would show some excerpts from the testimonies of the players present, indicating that there was indeed physical suffering inflicted upon them, not only upon those who sadly passed away, but all those who were in attendance in that activity. In all, can we go back to the previous slide? In all, these circumstances show that the elements of violation of anti-hazing law may be present, and that is why that is the recommendation of the CIDG, as will be later discussed.
Okay. Recommendation. The PNP CIDG recommends the evaluation. PAANO, assistant coach. Reynaldo C. Jacinto, assistant coach. Paulo Manuel Maceda Adiboso, student manager. Andrew Lorenzo Bondoc Salud, student manager. John Eric Kimbao Rueca, physical therapist. Aris Ramos Pronce, utility ballboy. Joel Palmiano Rapa, alias Boy, utility ballboy. Mga kaibigan, hindi ito po tungkol sa training o hazing. Ito'y tungkol rin sa mga karapatan ng mga manlalaro. Ito rin po ay sana maging leksyon para sa lahat ng mga organisasyon na ang ganitong klaseng bagay ay hindi pwedeng dalhin ng sa magaanang paraan lamang. Hazing is not only initiations. Hazing can occur in any organization. Thank you very much.
In order to have an orderly question and answer, let's remain at 2 questions each and follow-ups later. First,
Nakita din po ba ng CIDG na yung mga sinasabi na may mga pabigat sa paa?
Gel Marico?
There was none, ma'am.
So sir, hindi totoo yung mga lumutang na impormasyon na nilagyan sila nung parang mga pabigat?
No, that's not true.
Karen de Guzman of ABS-CBN.
Sec, may mga lumalabas po kasi na issue or question na kayo raw po kasi ay team manager ng UP basketball team. Paglilinaw lang po, bakit daw po kayo parang tila actively involved dito sa ganitong investigasyon, knowing na ang dalawang koponan ay talagang striktong magkalaban?
Number 1, hindi po ako team manager. Ang team manager po ay si Coach Bo Perasol. Ako po ay isa sa mga alumni na tumutulong sa UP men's basketball team. Isa yan sa mga na bahagi ako na organisasyon sa UP men's, pero as a sponsor. Pagdating dito po, hindi ko po ginagawa to para dahil ako'y taga-UP. Ginagawa ko po dito dahil ako'y kalihim ng interior at local government. It is part of my duty to make sure that justice is done. UP has nothing to do with this.
Okay.
And to make clear, I am also an alumnus of Ateneo de Manila. I graduated high school there. My son graduated 2026. And also alumnus of De La Salle University for my grade school education. So, kasama ako sa lahat yan.
Okay, second question po. Aside from the anti-hazing, nabanggit po before na plano din kasuhan ng homicide. Ano na po yung nangyari doon? Natuloy po ba yun? Or anti-hazing act na lang po yung final natin today?
Thank you. Right now, the recommendation by the CIDG is to conduct preliminary investigation for a violation of the Anti-Hazing Act. But this is still subject to such other offenses as the DOJ may find applicable and warranted under the circumstances. So hindi pa rin naman binibitawan yung posibilidad na ang ma-file sa kanila ay homicide. Ito lang yung nakita ng CIDG base sa evidence na nakalap nila. Pero ultimately, ang nagpa-file naman ng kaso sa korte ay ang DOJ, ang kanilang prosecution arm. So malalaman natin kung ano yung magiging evaluation ng DOJ. But definitely, hindi pa off the table yung homicide as an offense.
Mariz Umali of GMA.
Just a joiner, kasama po ako sa investigation. At bago po ako umupo, sinasabi ko clearly, for the record, at naka-record po ito sa transcripts, at nakalagay po sa video, na for the record, pinakilala ko sarili ko, anong posisyon ko, at sinabi ko na ako ay involved sa UP men's basketball team. So in full knowledge, ang lahat ng mga na-interview, at in full knowledge, tinanggap naman nila ang aking statement at nagsalita sila pagkatapos. So hindi ko tinago yung ano na yan, yung katotohanan na yan. Ngunit sinabi ko sa lahat, we did 60 interviews, 60 respondents, 320 hours of interviews, 2 weeks of continuous, and I think 68 lawyers were present continuously during the interviews of all those participants. And I informed everyone of my participation in UP, and none of them objected.
Hi, sir. Good morning. Before I ask my question, let me just clarify, sir. So in your recommendation, the homicide case is not part of the charges that you are recommending to the prosecutor's office. Hindi po kasama. It's just anti-hazing. You're saying kasi na it's not yet out of the table or off the table, but meaning in your recommendation, hindi kasama yung homicide.
The CIDG.
Okay. In the conduct of investigation, of course, una-una muna nakikiramay tayo sa pagkamatay ng dalawa, lalong-lalo na sa mga kaanak na actually nilibing na the other day o kahapon. Of course, so this is a action of the Philippine National Police such that katulad ng sinabi ng ating SILG, so that justice be done. Okay. The police had been active in the investigation such that almost 20 days and a lot of resources had been poured into this activity, especially the investigation. No? In fact, the provincial director of Aurora Province was relieved immediately after making statement and or concluding already that there's no cover-up or there's no walang nangyari na hindi maganda or foul play in that fateful day of June 8. Okay? Dapat inimbestigahan lahat. Okay? Whether there were negligence on the part of who planned or who participated in those activities. So, this is now the result of this investigation. So, we have a thorough investigation. We have found out, we accounted who were responsible, who planned, who participated, even the neophytes or the players and the schools. And even prior to the incident and even years before the incident, kaya tignan nyo, ano ba yung mga nangyari before? We have a statement or testimonies what happened before, in 2016. May nagsabi na they were subjected to swimming, hindi naman sila marunong maglangoy. And so, the Philippine National Police nag-imbestiga ng maayos. Okay? And so, we are now, the pieces of evidence that were gathered shows that a case can be prosecuted under Republic Act, the Anti-Hazing Law. Okay, so yun ang recommendation natin. Whether there was death, kasi pagka may death, ang kaso lang diyan is it's either homicide or murder. We are recommending to be the suspects or respondents to be prosecuted under Republic Act or anti-hazing law because we found out that there is an act of maltreatment or hazing and initiation. And then therefore, they should be tried under anti-hazing law. And ang ini-implement natin dito or tinatry natin dito is we would like to deter the conduct of hazing or maltreatment. Yan ang ginagawa ng Philippine National Police, especially if I will mention two incidents. That is when I was the regional director of 4A, meron po tayong hazing or maltreatment, hazing na nangyari doon. Particularly the SILG case. At tinutukan natin doon. Even our SILG was the governor of Cavite then. Okay? Napakalaki ng tulong ng local government noon. Lalong-lalo na in finding the cadaver or corpus delicti nung insidente na yon. And we have fully accounted those culprits at actually been convicted. So matter of 2 years for your information, sir. And recently, last third quarter of last year or last quarter of last year, 2025, another fraternity ay nagkandak na naman ng hazing.
Sir,
At na-solve natin yon. And the difference between this, the hazing, the usual, nagpapadel, yung minention ko rin dalawa. This one is may namatay but they were drowned. But the reason there is they endangered the life of these students.
so, sir,
Yes, sir.
just a clarification. So, dun sa mga activities po na nangyari, malinaw na hindi naman sila sinaktan. They were just subjected to harsh conditions and
Yes.
yung psychological activities that contributed to the drowning.
Hindi sila sinaktan, ngunit dinala sila sa mapanganib na lugar kung saan nangyari lahat na to. In
Okay.
the elements of the anti-hazing law, it does exposure to weather and forced calisthenics were one of them. And because of the calisthenics and the exposure to weather, it resulted into the drowning of 2 individuals.
Because some lawyers, Secretary, are saying that it may be difficult to prove that merely subjecting someone to harsh conditions or weather conditions constitute a violation of the Anti-Hazing Act. So how confident are you that the evidence that you've gathered or by the CIDG is sufficient to establish that the element of the offense was really committed and that you will be able to secure a conviction for those charged?
Number one, we have over 620 pages of testimony, all which corroborate to the fact that they were subjected to extreme weather and extreme conditions which resulted in death. That's number one. Number two, it is only the recommendation of the CIDG as the complainant of this case, but the final arbiter of what they will be charged with will be the Department of Justice. This is just our recommendation.
Sir, matanong ko lang, kasi in your previous statement, you noted some inconsistencies in the accounts. So, may malinaw ba na ebidensya na merong tangkang pagtatago ng impormasyon, maling salaysay, at pagtatangkang ilihis yung investigasyon ninyo? And also, can I just ask, Secretary, if under the virtue of command responsibility, will the heads of Ateneo not be charged as well? Dahil kahit na posibleng hindi nila alam yung nangyari, by virtue of command responsibility, dapat
I'll answer the
alam
first
nila.
part. Okay. Yung una, nung tinanong namin si Top Baldwin kung may nangyari ng ganton dati na muntik malunod, sabi niya wala. in his words in English, and we can provide the transcript. I do not recall. There was never any incident that this ever occurred. However, his former players testified that they nearly drowned. So that in itself shows a great inconsistency. Pagdating sa Ateneo, Brian, ano? When it comes to Ateneo, there is a concept of loco parentis which might be explored by the Department of Justice. But that requires a deeper investigation into the law. We are just looking into the criminal aspect. But definitely there will be civil liabilities of the Ateneo de Manila because of the deaths of the two individuals.
Jason Sigales of the Inquirer.
Good morning, Sec. We mentioned about the possible liabilities of the Ateneo University. I'm curious, yesterday we were told that businessman Manny Pangilinan submitted an affidavit in the course of the investigation. May we know what statement he gave in this investigation? May we know if he clarified whether his companies or group of companies or foundation was involved in the planning or funding of this activity?
Ang relationship ng MVP Foundation ay sponsor sa Ateneo team. So, sila ang nagbibigay ng funding sa Ateneo de Manila University at empleyado ng university si Tab Baldwin. May pinakita sa aming kontrata as head consultant of the basketball team. According kay Tab Baldwin, empleyado siya ng MVP Foundation or ng SMART. Pero nung hiningi namin yung kontrata, ay wala namang mapakita sa amin. So ang role talaga ng SMART dito ay sponsor lamang. Wala silang kinalaman, wala silang alam sa nangyari o sa pagplano ng ganitong klaseng pagkakataon.
Another question po on my end. On another note po, we announced here the recommendation for an investigation into possible violations of the Anti-Hazing Act. Has this recommendation been made or gagawin pa lang po? When was this recommendation made?
It has been formalized, it has been signed, and it is on its way to the DOJ.
Third Ann Malonzo of the Sun Star.
Good morning po, Secretary.
Yes, ma'am.
Kanina may sinabi kayo, may 5 sinabi na nila na hindi sila marunong lumangoy. Nandun po ba yung 2 victims?
Yes, nagsabi sila. Hindi, teka muna. Si Rene marunong lumangoy.
Okay. Pero
si Divine, hindi marunong lumangoy talaga. Si Kiefer Alas, si Ian Espinosa, at saka isa pa, nakalimutan ko yung isa pa. Pero di mas sila. At saka si Sultan, yung isa pang FSA, hindi rin marunong lumangoy.
Secretary, ang kalaban po siguro dito ay yung time. Kasi pwedeng anytime si Tab Baldwin umalis ng bansa. Ano pong effort para ito ay mapabilis at ma-prevent na umalis siya ng bansa at maharap niya kung anong kasong
Well,
meron
number
siya?
1, naka-ILBO na siya. Pero after the filing of charges, naka-HDO na siya. We will recommend the HDO. Pero sinabihan ko na rin siya nung umpisa pa lang, in the light way, I recommend that you do not try to leave the country. And he said, I do not plan on going anywhere. He will stay. Ayun ang sinabi niya.
So nag-commit siya, sir, na dito lang siya.
Yes,
Hindi siya.
he did.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Vince Lopez of Manila Standard. Chelsea Arcelia of DZXL.
Okay
Job-
na? I think we're done.
3 more
Wala ba?
questions.
Meron
Sec.
pa ba?
Jom Garner of DZMM.
Isa na lang. Taga 1TV.
Okay.
Sir, so clarify ko lang po, yung 11 nating recommended po, lahat po ba sila nakasama doon sa Aurora Team Building?
Yes. Kasama sila lahat. Nasa beach sila lahat. Walang pumigil, walang umangal, walang nagsabi na delikado to. Can you further explain the tenets of the law na bakit sila kasama?
Yes, the 11 respondents recommended to be charged are all present during the activity. And this
elements na that will extinguish the liability. Pagdating dito, alam nila lahat na lalangoy sila. Alam nila lahat na ma-expose sila sa dagat. Na may nagsabi na hindi marunong maglangoy at tinuloy pa rin nila. So, walang waiver to, walang consent, wala sila ng pirmahan, walang NDA. As part of the team process lang of trying out. Kasi ang player ay hindi siya, ang final lineup ng UAAP ay hindi included sa final team hanggang sinabit ni coach ng mga coaches sa UAAP board. Upon submission, that's the only time they will be confirmed as part of the men's basketball team. In this case, 20 po sila na nag-apply, continuous membership, at 3 ang matatanggal. So in this process of elimination, nangyari itong aksidente nito.
For the last 2 questions, Secretary, first.
Sir, Lloyd Caliwan from PAANO. Sir, hindi nyo rin ba i-recommend yung school since may nangyari ng una na may nalunod, then pinayagan pa rin ulit nila ngayon?
Actually, tinanong namin yan kay Father, hindi pa daw siya, hindi pa siya member ng leadership ng Ateneo noong una nangyari to noong 2017. So wala siyang alam, there was no knowledge. Kaya kami hindi pa namin sinasama dito. Sa lahat ng testimonies, ang lumalabas, ginawa ito na hindi alam ng Ateneo de Manila University. Hindi nila alam. According to
Yesterday, nakipagkita po sila sa family ni Rene Baterbonia. Nabanggit po natin na yung recommendation comes from the CIDG. I'm curious po, do the 2 families of the victims, are they on board with this recommendation?
Chief Marco?
Yes, sir. Actually, last night, we took their...
Itong mga kakasuhan, nirecommend natin for filing of charges? Or ito na po yun? Kasi di ba marami po natanong dun sa babaeng nag-CPR? Marami po nika-question ng netizens.
Ano pa kami? Ito po ay recommendation namin sa Department of Justice. Ibibigay po namin ang lahat ng testimonies, lahat ng videotapes, lahat ng 620 pages, lahat ng consent, lahat ng affidavits. At ang final determinant niyan ay ang Department of Justice. So,